Hey guys, today we're sewing the CHEOMA top. This top was inspired by the curved roof lines of traditional Korean houses called CHEOMA, and that's where the structured architectural look comes from. The waist comes in slightly to highlight your shape, and there's a bit of gathering along the side seams. Plus, kimono-style cut-on sleeves and the front center slit at the hem adds a nice little detail. For best results, I recommend using sturdy knit or jersey fabrics with at least 40% horizontal stretch. To achieve the intended structure and make sewing easier, a thicker double knit like Interlock with low drape is ideal. Fabric requirements and required tools are listed in the description box below. Let's get started. After pre-washing, drying, and ironing your fabric, cut out your pattern pieces. You will have 5 pieces in total, including 2 mirrored front pieces, 2 mirrored back pieces, and 1 neckband. On the wrong side of the 4 bodice pieces, mark the notch areas indicated on the pattern. Use something erasable like water-soluble fabric pen, friction pen, or tailor's chalk. Prepare fusible interfacing tape about 1 cm wide. Adjust the length so that it extends about 1 cm above the notches marked on the center front of both front pieces. Apply 1 strip to the seam allowance and another right next to it. Remark your notch after attachment if it disappeared from the heat. Overlock all 4 center edges of the front and back bodice pieces. For this part, make sure to align the stitches with the raw edges of the fabric without trimming any off, since we need the full 1 cm seam allowance for the next step. With right sides together, align the 2 front bodice pieces. Sew a straight stitch from the top neckline point down to the notch using a 1 cm seam allowance. With the right sides together, align the 2 back bodice pieces. Sew straight from the top to the bottom hem using a 1 cm seam allowance. With the joint front and back bodice pieces laid wrong side up, press the 1 cm center seam allowances open. Top stitch both sides of the center seam 0.7 cm from the seam line to secure the pressed seam allowance. Mark 0.5 cm above the slit between the 2 top stitch lines. We're going to reinforce the top of the front slit with the bar tack using a zigzag stitch. Your stitch width should be about 2 to 3 mm and your stitch length should be around 0.3 to 0.5 mm. With right sides together, align the front and back bodice pieces and join the shoulder seams with an overlock stitch, trimming off 0.5 cm as you sew. On most overlock machines, if you align it with the edge of the needle plate, it'll cut off about 0.5 cm. Press the seam allowances towards the back bodice. Going on to the neckband, fold the neckband piece in half lengthwise, right sides facing, then overlock the raw edge, trimming off 0.5 cm as you sew. Press the seam allowance to one side, then fold the neckband in half with wrong sides together, forming a tube shape. Press along the folded edge of the neckband to set the crease. Then, mark the point directly opposite the seam where the 2 ends were joined. This mark will serve as the notch that aligns with the center front. Next, align the center back of the neckline with the seam line on the neckband and pin them together. making sure the seam allowances of both the neckband and the bodice are facing the same direction. Next, match the notch on the neckband with the center front of the front bodice neckline and pin in place. Using these 2 points as anchors, gently stretch the neckband to fit the neckline and evenly distribute the remaining length as you pin around the neckline. Once the neckband is evenly pinned in place, secure it with a hand basting stitch along the middle of the neckband using a thread in a contrasting color and slightly thicker weight to make it easier to remove after sewing. Remove all the pins after basting. Overlock along the seam allowance, trimming 0.5 cm as you sew. After overlocking, take out all the basting thread. Turn the bodice inside out, then press the seam allowance towards the wrong side. Switch your sewing machine needle to a twin needle and add a twin top stitch just below the neckband, making sure to catch and secure the seam allowance underneath as you sew. To help feed evenly while top stitching around the curved neckline, place a layer of tearaway stabilizer or tissue paper, tracing paper, or lightweight pattern paper under the entire fabric. It helps even out the seam allowance bulk and can be torn away after sewing. Start at one side of the neckline seams for a less visible finish. Turn the bodice over so the wrong side is facing up. Now it's time to add the gathering along the side seam of the front bodice. Start at the lower notch on the side seam and do not backstitch throughout this step. Leave a long tail at the beginning and using the longest stitch length on your machine, sew 0.6 cm from the edge up to the upper notch. Shift the needle slightly closer to the seam line before sewing back down to the lower notch, this time 0.9 cm from the edge. Do not backstitch and leave a long tail at the end as well. Hold both of the top thread tails together and gently pull downward to gather the fabric. Adjust the gathers until the length matches the distance between the 2 notches on the back bodice seam. Pin the 2 notches in place and use your fingers to evenly distribute the gathers between the notches. Use more pins in the gathers and tie a knot at the lower notch to secure the threads in place. Repeat on the other side. With the front and back bodice pieces aligned, pin the sleeve and body hems in place, going on with the remaining side seam. Overlock along the seam, trimming 0.5 cm as you sew. Press both side seam allowances toward the back bodice and take out the gathering stitches if needed. Onto hemming. Overlock the bodice and sleeve hem all around, trimming 0.5 cm as you sew. On the wrong side of the fabric, mark a line 4 cm up from the bottom edge of the bodice. Then, fold the hem up to meet the marked line and press in place. The final hem should be 2 cm. Then, use a twin needle on your sewing machine and sew 2 rows of top stitching along the folded hem. If you're having trouble with sewing with knits, or for a cleaner, more professional finish, try applying water-soluble stay tape along the folded hem edge on the wrong side of the fabric before top stitching. It helps keep the edge stable and prevents stretching as you sew. You can finish off here or add some more details with the following instructions. Prepare 5 pairs of hook and eye closures. Starting at the slit opening on the front bodice, mark both inner edges, spacing the marks 4 cm apart. Position each hook and eye so that their holes align with the top stitch line. Thread a hand sewing needle with a matching thread. Sew the loop securely to the fabric using small buttonhole stitches. Tie off and secure the thread on the seam allowance at the back to finish. And that is it. You've finished your CHEOMA top. An easy to make summer tee, but it's still giving off that designer vibe. For the pattern link and detailed step-by-step illustrated instructions, check out the description box below. If you share your work, tag me on Instagram so I can repost and feature it. Thanks for watching.